Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
You grow up and there's people who aren't willing to do certain things, and you are, and you can pull ahead because you are doing that stuff. You take note. See everybody move in one direction, I'll stop, pause, I'll look, and I'll figure out why is everybody going this direction. Because people are dumb, man. I had weights in my kitchen, right? So I used to call it, I would do legs and eggs. I took my breakfast in the morning, and I would do my set of squats, come back, finish my eggs, another set. I always say the gravity's trying to kill you, and you need to lift in order to fight back. If you're not, you're going to get pulled down into the dirt faster. Currency, right? It's currency. Attention is currency in the dating market. If you're a guy, your attention is your greatest asset. Some body weight stuff while you're brushing your teeth in the morning. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Ronnie Coleman doing crazy weight or something, It's going to be the Wall-E movie, all the big fat people on their chairs cruising around, leaving puss on the table. This is Jon Fitch, and you're watching Airey Bros Radio.
So I think kind of on terms of what we were just talking about, I know following you through your MMA career, I know you tried different diets. I think you went plant-based for a minute. What was kind of leading you back into eating meat? When did you do that? How long were you plant-based? What were the pitfalls of that?
Yeah, so I decided to try the plant-based, like vegan style diet back. It's like 2000, end of 2010, beginning of 2011. It was right before the BJP fight, and that was like me scrambling, trying to find any edge I could find to like propel me into those big fights and the title fights, because I at that time I'd only lost once to GSP in the UFC, but I still wasn't being talked about for title shots or rematches or whatever. They were just ignoring me. So I don't know, out of desperation, I think a lot of guys started using TRT at that time, and I was like, I'm gonna get up on everybody and not eat meat. And I ended up losing a bunch of weight, a lot of muscle mass in that process, and it was only about a 6-month period of time. And losing that muscle mass, I started getting injured more and having more problems with injuries. And I realized that this is just not going to work. So I started introducing meat back into my system. The thing that tricked me with switching to veganism was I was eating a lot of like processed food, a lot of bullshit, a lot of unorganic stuff. And when I switched to veganism, I switched to all organic. I stopped eating processed foods. And when I felt good for the first few months, it was because I wasn't eating the crap anymore. I wasn't eating the bullshit. But I took that as, it was the meat. And it took a little while to realize that, I'm just losing too much. I'm eating nonstop all day in order to get the calories that I need. And I'm still kind of wasting away. And I was just like, this doesn't seem optimal. This doesn't seem like it's optimizing my athletic ability. So I started reintroducing meat, and then I ate clean, but I ate normal, like 3 meals a day type of diet until 2016, before my title fight at WSOF. And then I started working with this guy, Manny Torres, who actually I just found out recently passed away. Rest in peace, Manny. But Manny helped me with a meal plan for cutting weight and MMA, and it was very similar to bodybuilding type diet. They're eating like 6 meals a day, and that I was very wary of it because I thought what does bodybuilder just has to flex and whatever. I don't want to do a bodybuilder diet, but I just went with it, and I felt good with it, so it was okay. It took a few weeks to like even be able to eat the amounts of food that I needed to at first, and force myself to have breakfast because I used to like skip back breakfast a bunch. But like the weight cut came off so easy, and it was like very predictable that I was like hooked with the method, and I've been eating mostly the same way ever since. Even without fighting, I'm on the same meal plan, and I adding more to the meal plan, more portions helped me get bigger.
And so is at 230, is that the weight that you want to be comfortable at and walk around at, or is this just kind of like more of an experiment?
Kind of an experiment a little bit, because like I haven't tried to put on weight since high school. It wasn't a thought to be like, I'm gonna eat as much of this as I can because I want to be bigger. That was something we did in high school, trying to put on weight. But like ever since college wrestling, it's always been I've had thresholds where I don't ever want to go past this weight, because then I have to move up and it'll be too hard to get down. So throughout my entire fight career, like 210 I used to refer to it as the danger zone. Okay, so if I hit 210, that was the danger zone, and if I went any further, it was going to be really hard to get back down to 70. So I would pull it back, and then I think 190 to 200 pounds was like more of a sweet spot to stay in.
Do you have is that still, you think, your sweet spot, or now that you've been up beyond the danger zone, is there a new sweet spot?
Yeah, that's what we're doing, is going to try to find a new sweet spot, because I spent the year putting on the weight, and now I'm going to try to reintroduce training and cardio, because I wasn't doing much cardio, and see how I lean out, see how I look when I lean out. And then I'm going to see how I feel. And I'm going to see about doing some grappling competitions, maybe do like, there's an Abu Dhabi tournament in April, I think, and I think the weight is, 89 kilos and below or something, 89.9 kilos and below, I think is the weight. And that's like 217. So that could be something I try to compete at, maybe. I don't know. I'm still seeing.
How does it feel for you, taking some time off fighting now, kind of getting into normal life, being able to be heavier and not have anything to kind of worry about? Do you feel comfortable being able to kind of be heavy and not have anything to worry about? Or does it kind of give you a little bit of like, oh man, I got to get this weight off?
I've never been much about the weight, how much the weight is. I'm more worried about like,
well, how's the feel? I guess
how I look too.
Yeah.
None of my clothes fit anymore. But no, like I don't like having a belly, and I carry around a little bit of extra weight. It's nice having a 6-pack or close to a 6-pack. But yeah, I don't like that. As far as movement, right now I feel okay. But I've never been the fast guy. I've never been the guy who relied on speed, or like, thank goodness I'm quick. So I'm like the slow, methodical, technical guy. So a little extra weight, I think, is good for that.
And, being that you're lifting more and kind of getting more into that, I love your daily tweets. You get me motivated every day with the stuff. And the one tweet was, squats should be a part of your daily hygiene. And I was like, let's go. Like you're talking my language, and that's how we kind of need to be as men, right? That's how we have to put our fitness as a priority. And even with, you have sons, teaching the younger guys that stuff. So I love that mindset. And is that something that you've kind of developed throughout wrestling, or did you always have something like that?
Well, I mean, like just being able to like push yourself and make yourself do things you don't really want to do things. I've always been, interested in that stuff, because it's, when you grow up and there's people who aren't willing to do certain things, and you are, and you can pull ahead because you are doing that stuff. You take note. But yeah, I with relating that to like lifting, back in, when I started fighting, like 2002, 2003, I kind of realized that I couldn't lift the way I used to anymore, like the bodybuilding or the football style lifting. You know, you're pushing to failure. You know, you're sore for 2 days in a certain muscle group or region for those 2 days. You can't do much else. You know, football and stuff, they're explosive, short kind of lifts, put on size and make you powerful, but like your cardio and stamina isn't really going to be there. And I realized that with MMA, you know, if I was going to go in and do these traditional lifts that I was doing and still had to work out like 2 to 4 times in a day besides that, you know, I had to do that, go to jiu-jitsu, go to MMA training, go hit mitts, and then do cardio later. Like to do all that stuff in one day was impossible. So I started coming up with I call it my Fitch Smash strength training program. But I lift 6 days a week, but like I never do more than 4 lifts. And I don't do like push pull or groups or whatever. I just have certain lifts I do on certain days, certain core lifts. I call them essential lifts that I think are important. I don't think you need to go like crazy heavy. You don't need to do like, you know, to failure all the time. I think you just need to be consistent. So it's like one of those comments where I say it needs to be like your hygiene is because you should, you know, be getting it in every day. You should be getting in one of those lifts or one of those days lifts like all the time. Like I can bust through a lift in 35 minutes and get a good response out of it. So I think it's important to schedule those type of things and make sure you're hitting those marks every day.
Yeah, you know, when I'm coaching my athletes or teaching the seminars, I'm an ultra marathoner, so I come at the strength side of stuff for that benefit. But I always tell people when you lose the ability to squat, you lose the ability to take care of yourself because you can't get out of bed, you can't get up and down off the toilet, and so that daily hygiene, that's super impactful. And I just love the verbiage of exercise being thought of as like something you do, like brushing your teeth and hygiene that needs to be done on a daily basis.
I mean, you have to think like humans in our form today have only been around for like 10, 20,000 years. You know, you've got, or even less than that, you know, with agriculture and you know, machines and shit. We 20,000 years, we had to like farm ourselves. Like we were exercising daily just to survive. Basically, we had to go out and we had to hunt something. We had to walk for miles to get to the water source. We had to walk for miles to find where the food was. You know, if we were in times of agriculture, we had to like carry seed and plant our crops and pick things. Like it was extremely difficult physically. And now what do? You know, you play video games, you go on a computer, you ride in your car, you ride in a train, you're sitting down most of the time. You know, we went from living a certain way for millions of years to switching that up and becoming completely sedentary and just sitting in place.
Yeah. Technology has caused us to pull the e-brake on a lot of ancestral health patterns and lifestyles for sure.
It's going to be the Wall-E movie, all the big fat people on their chairs cruising around. Like we're headed there, but don't be that guy. Don't be the Wall-E chair guy. Like lift, you know, you can get some resistance bands and do some body weight stuff while you're brushing your teeth in the morning. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Ronnie Coleman doing crazy weight or something, you know. If you did 50 free squats every morning while you're brushing your teeth, like that would probably change your life if you're not doing anything currently.
It's funny because I have a stand-up desk set up here, and he came out last night, and I just kind of laughed to myself because I had my posture brace on my shoulders, and I had the hip circle around my knees as I was standing up typing, and I'm just trying to focus on my posture as I'm editing and doing stuff. So it's, although having a gym is great, you know, you don't need more than maybe a kettlebell or a dumbbell or some different bands. And, you know, you can find things at Walmart or Ace Hardware that, you know, bungee cords and those sorts of things that you can use as battle ropes and for, you know, $10-15.
Yeah, I put out a resistance band training course I modified all my Fitch smash lifts into resistance band. I did nothing but use those resistance bands for at least 8 weeks, and I felt good. They were enough to push me.
Yeah, and talking about fitness being essential for men, right? Something that we need to do. We need to tap into that daily. I know you're all about the male renaissance, and so are we, and kind of want to tap into some of those things that you think men should be doing daily to kind of stay men, stay strong, and encourage each other and be the best men we can be in the society we're living in today.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of random acts of strength with your friends. Just go out and pick something up heavy just to show them that you can. Like, I'm all about it. Yeah, but we need to be physically connected to the world. You need to exercise, need to lift. Like I always say, the gravity's trying to kill you, and you need to lift in order to fight back. If you're not, you're going to get pulled down into the dirt faster. That's all. And we need to be proud of like some of the dumb shit we do sometimes. I think it's cool to pick up something heavy, like to keep yourself in good enough a shape to be older and pick up a big rock. I'll do pull-ups or whatever in a weird place just so my kids can see me do something strong. I think it's something we do when we're little, and we've grown out of it, but I think it's healthy.
Yeah, that was something when I started getting in, more into the CrossFit strength side of things, where, going to a park and doing a workout at a park, or just like you said, having your street clothes on and you see something heavy and you just pick it up. Like, that's the fun stuff we grew up on and kind of move away from as we go into the Globo gyms, or I can only work out here. But I think having that mindset of just, oh, there's a rock, let's toss it around or whatever, that's a freeing thought, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could take my kids to the park all the time, and I could just sit there and watch them, or look at my phone, or I could rip some pull-ups off at the monkey bars or whatever while they're playing. And then sure enough, they see you do it, they'll end up trying to do something like that too.
And how are they? Are they involved in organized athletics of any capacity? You got them doing wrestling or anything just yet?
They've been going to jiu-jitsu. Last, they got their gray white belts most recently. We started them off in just a all around kind of an MMA class where they could do a bunch of different skills, and then with time changes with schools and stuff, like that class became too hard to get to. So we just started making them go to the jiu-jitsu class. And, it was after a few months, they started really liking it and really wanting to go more. So, that worked out really great. I spent time with them over COVID. We spent some time where I was coach and I did wrestling, and some of their friends came over to the gym because I have mats set up in my gym or my garage. And, I was a wrestling coach for that COVID year, basically, making sure they got something in because they couldn't go to the gym and do the jiu-jitsu. But I've been doing jiu-jitsu regularly. Flag football, they've been doing pretty regularly. My oldest son's asking about contact football, but I don't know how that's set up over here. I know I had PAL back in Indiana, but we're in California, so I'm a little bit lost. I gotta look up what's available.
There's your way around not having to play contact football. I couldn't find anything.
Couldn't find anything. I mean, I started playing contact football in the 4th grade. I thought I was going to play pro football all through high school. It wasn't until senior year of high school I was kind of realizing that, oh well, maybe I should go and wrestle.
And kind of knowing what you know about CTE and how guys get it in MMA and obviously in football, does that make you kind of hesitant to letting your son get into contact football?
Man, I don't really have hesitations about it because I did play, and I played a lot. I was, in positions where we had a lot of contact, and I fought a long career fighting, and I've been hit a number of times. But there's risk everywhere. You know, he could get CTE, or he could get some injuries playing football, but he could also, you know, become gelatinous and fat working at a computer and have back problems and whine about his feet. And there's all kinds of things that could happen. You know, if he played enough football to have actual injuries with CTE, then he must have probably been pretty good and played a long time. I don't know, man. I think people should be allowed to do what they want to do.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I don't want to see my sons get injured or hurt, whatever, but like at the same time, I'm more concerned with like guys getting exploited and taken advantage of. You know, like the fight promoters taking money off the top that should go to the fighters, and the fighters then have medical problems later and they have no money to take care of them. I have more problem with that.
And kind of talking about that, you've been pretty vocal. I know you're part of the antitrust lawsuit with the UFC. How do you advise like a younger fighter or younger guy kind of getting into the game to avoid that? Can you avoid that, or is it one of those sports where you're going to be exploited just because there's no union?
Yeah. The underlying structure, the business model of MMA is corrupt, and exploitation is the only thing that can't happen. Okay. The reason that is because promoters in MMA are allowed to control the title and exclusive contracts. Right. So that means they get to decide who ascends to championships, who fights for championships, who doesn't. And because of that, there's a huge conflict of interest in that. You know, you can't really determine who's the best, who should be fighting, because they have special interest in, you know, which guy has which contract. You know, the guy that they have to pay a lot of money to, they don't necessarily want to win. You know what I mean? And until we remove the obstructions, like nothing really is going to change. Like you can talk about money, you can talk about whatever. So we need the Ali Act, excuse me, because that gives us a federal law to push promoters up against, right? That'll allow fighters to see the finances, see what the everybody else is making, see who's getting paid what, see how much the promoter is spending on the events, how much money they're making on the events. That gives them a better opportunity to negotiate contracts. You take the title away and the rankings away from the promoter with the Ali Act. So now you have independent bodies controlling the titles. So there's no conflict of interest between, you know, who the promoter wants to win and who should win, type of thing. And you also get a powerful tool in, like, the guys who win titles become free agents. So when you win a title, you're most valuable. Like, you're worth the most you'll ever be worth. And you should be able to take advantage of that and be a free agent. See whether or not that promoter works hard enough to actually keep you on. And then you also have, under LEAC, you have cross promotion. So you'll see, you know, the best guys from different promotions fighting each other, rather than one group hoarding all the top talent with contracts that never end.
Is there any, in your opinion, is there any organization out there across the board? Are they all the same? Is there any one that's maybe doing it a little bit more in line with what's going on with the Ali Act or helping the fighters?
You can't, because you can't compete when a monopoly exists. Everybody within that system has to either copy their system or has to be more, you know, even more slimy, right? Like, because you can't compete, because you're not going to compete under the rule set and what they have going on. I mean, they literally have, they used to have contracts like never ended. And they get word that they're going to start putting like a 5-year sunset clause on some of the contracts now. And that'll change things a little bit, because if you can get the timing right and you're a champ, you know, you start that series of fights, you sign 8 fights for 5 years, You know, if you can get that title in the last couple of fights and then sit out until your contract expires, then you'll have some major leverage. But there's just no leverage really for anybody, because the majority of money is made away from pay-per-views and away from the fighters individually. You know, like Conor McGregor brings in the most amount of money out of any fighter. And the last year he fought like twice, he only brought in like 5% of the revenue. And it's just, I mean, that's just not really moving the needle enough for the promotion to care. You know, and if that guy is bringing in more money than anybody else and he doesn't bring in enough money for them to care about, then what good does anybody else have in negotiating with them? They have their ESPN deals, they have their, you know, their Venom deals, they have all these other side deals that guarantee money coming in, no matter what shows they put on and who they put on the pay-per-view. So like they don't care if this guy starts making noise and acting up. Just put him on the shelf and bring in some new talent. We'll create some other controversy on social media and people will pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think you have some valid points, and you've been able to educate fans like us kind of on the inner workings. And one thing I heard you speak on, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, is, you know, how the Fertittas kind of got into power, took the UFC over, you know, how they were on the commission, made sure that the UFC couldn't get a license in Vegas, and then they wound up buying it. So I don't think people are aware of that shadiness. And that's kind of like conspiracy stuff that makes you scratch your head like, oh, wow, this has been shady from day one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. They were boxing guys. They knew how boxing worked, and they knew the best way to avoid the laws in boxing and exploit the fighters. They knew what was going on. And yeah, you know, the fans who don't know, that was the thing. One of the Fertittas was on the athletic commission back in the 90s. And when it came to a vote, they brought it to a vote to the Vegas commission to legalize MMA. And they would have voted yes, then the UFC would have been able to do shows whenever they wanted to in Vegas, and they would have been regulated. But out of nowhere, the commission said no. Nobody could figure out why. Nobody understood it. Well, once they said no, Fertitta quit the commission, turned around with his brother, and ended up buying the UFC cheap for $2 million. Like that sale never would have happened if they wouldn't have played dirty pool and voted no against the legalization in the first place.
John, you were one of the first guys, I know, with the video game, right? You kind of came out and fought against that, giving up your name and likeness for life and not getting any money back from it. Have you always kind of been someone to go against the grain, or were situations like that where you're a smart guy, you're going to read, you're going to do your research, kind of woke you up to these things?
Yeah, no, I've always pushed back a little bit. I'm like, you know, I've never really been one to jump and run and follow the crowd. I always see everybody move in one direction. I'll stop, pause, and I'll look, and I'll figure out why is everybody going this direction. Because people are dumb, man. People are dumb. There's a lot of people who are just okay with security, and they'll take security into a position of them being a slave just because it's secure. Well, it's regular meal and a place to sleep, and I'm just not that. I'm not that way.
Yeah, it seems like the past going almost 2 years now has really put a microscope on those people, or a magnifying glass on those people. You know, and we're here in Denver. You know, so what we see versus what people see outside of here on the news and their perspective versus you know, say you in California versus what we see or hear. Is it as bad as it appears, or what we see or what we hear other people say, or is that just kind of isolated to like Los Angeles?
I think it really depends on the circles, I think. Because there's a lot of, you know, San Jose, there's still a lot of blue collar people. You know, there's a lot of blue collar people, plumbers, electricians, refrigerator repairmen, those type of guys. You know, the fighters, those guys too. Guys who people go to jiu-jitsu class, and people who generally are willing to like sweat on other people. They usually have a better understanding of this stuff. But yeah, there's certain circles though you go into, and if they're very techie, you know, they're way more into that kind of whole narrative. You know, they're double mask with a face mask, and you know, triple jabbed and whatever. And yeah, it's just different. Where like, you know, I taught a seminar a while ago, and they were talking about, this is a while ago, that they're talking about their vaccine shots or whatever. And one was like, oh wow, you're really late to getting yours, like because it was been so common and everybody there had already gotten one or whatever. I just shut my mouth and walked away.
Do you think that's the best way to deal with this stuff? Because I know here they just put a mask mandate in November, but we've been doing a good job of kind of going in the stores that don't really require that stuff, trying to stay away from those conversations. Do you try to?
People, like, yeah, man. Even here, even Bay Area, like there's a few bars that I've gone into, and like nobody's got a mask on. You know, they don't care. They're not going to enforce it. Their workers will have them on to make sure they don't get fined or whatever. But like they don't really care. And it all depends on like location. I was down in San Diego a few weeks ago, 4 weeks ago maybe, and like they really didn't have much on for masks at all either. And it's just, you can't tell adult people what to do with their damn lives. You know, if there's a sickness or there's something that's risky out there, well, then it's up to that individual to keep themselves safe. It's not everybody else's responsibility. Like, it's not, the needs of the many are outweighed by the needs of the one. That's not what Spock said. Right? So we're definitely not handling it the correct way. And the worst thing is having people who 50% of the population don't trust be the ones telling you what to do. It's like, you know, the last, you know, 2015, 2020, most people that I know, a lot of people have lost all faith whatsoever in mainstream news media and their political leaders. So now you're going to have those same people that we don't trust tell us the best thing to do for our health. That's just not going to, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, tell us what to do with our health without actually ever telling us anything
to be healthy.
To be healthy.
Yeah. No, it took 2 years for them to admit that you're at a greater risk of having something bad happen with COVID if you're overweight, if you're fat. It took 2 years. Like, and then shutting gyms down and stuff. Like, why are you know, you should hand out vitamin packets to people, send vitamins out to people, and give them gym memberships.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like here, we don't live too far from a McDonald's, and that has been packed every day since the pandemic started. You're closing.
They're giving
gyms.
out free McDonald's with your jab.
Yep.
Get a Krispy Kreme after you get your jab.
Krispy Kreme, get a pizza, get a McDonald's. Great.
Well, even the requirements to have a face covering on to go in and get said fast food is also just.
Oh, but then you can sit down and you're fine. The magic of COVID precautions, protocols. As long as you're sitting down, you're not contagious. That was the silliest thing to me. Is like I go into a restaurant and sit at a bar height table, take my mask off, and then I'm talking to the server who's looking at me in the eyes. You know, it's not like I'm looking up or whatever. And like, that's okay. It's just there's so many incongruencies with, oh, don't do that, but you're safe here.
I figure with all the people sitting down at 5'4", I should be exempt no matter where I am at any time inside.
So with the craziness going on in the world and people kind of just being sheep and going along with the narrative, how do you, as someone who has 2 young boys, kind of teach them to be free thinkers and not go along with everyone around them?
I was trying to, man, just be honest with them about this different things. Like, I have my opinion, other people have their opinions. You know, I don't really trust these people, you know, pointing out facts and numbers and things that seem obvious to them. You know, just going into a restaurant or something. We go in like, does this make any sense to you guys? We wore a mask in here and then we sit down at the table and we take them off. You know, like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me either. You know, it's like, I don't personally see how we're safer doing that. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. It's just trying to allow them to think for themselves, I think, is the best. Like, try to get them to think critically about things, or ask why is this the way it is? Yeah.
Are they back in school full time now?
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's, yeah, like, we had the COVID over the break, so they ended up having to miss like a week after a break, because of their protocols and whatever. And yeah, it's just annoying. It's annoying. Like, to go and pick up my kids from school to grade school, and all the kids are outside on the playground with masks on playing and stuff. I just feel like it's child abuse. I feel like you're abusing these children because you're afraid, because you're scared of the boogeyman. It bothers me that there are adults who are like, I'm okay with risking your children's health, your children's mental health, and your family's freedom because I'm scared.
Yeah, there's, you know, I said this since day one, is it seems like the people who whose lives have been improved because of this, whether they get to work remotely or, you know, teach a class in their pajamas as opposed to getting up and go to school. Those are that is the population.
Teachers who still get paid and don't have to go in.
Those are the ones that have pushed back the hardest in terms of like keeping things constricted and constrained and supporting maybe their agenda or their lifestyle, as opposed to, you know, as a coach who coaches runners, marathoners, ultra marathoners, when you shut down and cancel races across the board for almost a year, you know, it takes a huge part of my clientele away. If they don't have anything to train for, they don't necessarily need me. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I run a lot of self-defense, MMA, jiu-jitsu. I run a lot of seminars and small groups and private lessons. And yeah, you'll have a lot less people willing to host you for a seminar if they're gym. I had a guy, I was supposed to go into New York in February 12th and do a seminar, but they're talking about closing them down again and doing another lockdown. So he's afraid. So we're gonna wait probably till June to make that happen. So that's, yeah, I mean, I feel that.
Yeah.
It just messes with people's money. And that's kind of my conspiracy theory, is this is all just cover up for the dollar turning to zero.
Digital dollar, social credit score.
I mean, if you got 30, 40 grand in the bank right now, go try to take it out and see how they treat you.
Have you had that experience?
Ask for 40 grand from your bank of your money in cash and see how they treat you. If that doesn't scare the shit out of you, I don't know.
So, John, someone who is, like I said before, always evolving, have two boys, you're single father, and I know you said you date your wife or your ex-wife for a while, then kind of changed. How has your mindset with women, dating, how you approach women, kind of your vetting process for women, how has that changed since you were single the last time?
Man, it's so much easier now. It's so much better. Well, and not easier because women are easier. Sex is easier. It's the way it is. But it's easier because when you can understand the concept of genuine desire and like genuine attraction, it makes everything so much easier. You start being able to see into the text and their behaviors and what they're saying, what they actually mean. And it's a time saver, you know. You got simple questions to kind of test their interest in you, and you can tell whether or not to give them any more attention based off of their answer. Then it saves you a lot of time. You just next, and you go to the next one, because you have your social media, and you've got your dating apps. So you have a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of women you normally wouldn't meet. So you have that opportunity to kind of go through a lot of these women and find the ones who are actually like into you, right? And then once you find the ones that are into you, then it gives you a chance to go on fun dates and pick the ones you actually really like and the ones you want to keep seeing. Man, it's made it a lot more fun. It's made it a lot more fun for sure.
When you're doing that, do these individuals, do they know who you are? Is that something that's brought up, or do you kind of keep
Let them Google it?
Let them Google it, or how does that?
Well, I when I was first starting out, like I didn't put anything up there about fighting or whatever. And one of my friends, we were sharing notes on our dating app, like setup and strategies. And he's like, why don't you list your Instagram? Like, it's stupid. You're leaving puss on the table.
Here's
Right?
a soundbite.
Because it's all pre-qualification, like it's a pre-qualifier. I have a blue check mark on my Instagram, I have a certain amount of followers. So like as a male, you have to earn your place. You have to work hard to climb the ranks, so that the women will see you. It's not even the other guys, it's the women. Like men will hang out with lower status rank guys who fit into their, like, what they're doing, like their job or their goals or whatever. Like they can still be friends with somebody who, like, a female wouldn't rank on their same level. Maybe he doesn't have the same amount of money or the same amount of success, but he's still good in a region where that guy can be friends with him and he knows how to do that stuff. Maybe he's good at hunting and they're friends because that's his hunting buddy, something like that. But women rank guys, because they want to be with the highest ranked guy they can be with. Okay, so you have to play into that. And if you're in a 20-something-year-old guy, you're gonna have a harder time pulling women than a 35-year-old guy who has himself together, has his job figured out, has his money figured out, maybe has a home already, that type of stuff. And oh, sorry, I lost my place.
You're just saying about how having a harder time, if
Yeah,
you're in your
so
20s.
you have to, men have to like create themselves. You have to become. Men have to become. So don't get too frustrated in your 20s. Like that's supposed to be your hustle years. Like, don't fall the trap of YOLO and partying and all that traveling and whatever shit. It's not going to be as good in your 20s as if you've put in the work, you're successful, and then you have that stuff and access to that stuff in your 30s. You're going to be able to fly first class when you travel. Then you're going to be able to have a bigger house. You're going to have, a nicer car, that type of stuff. You're going to be able to pull more into you. So, with that mindset, like I had to earn my place fighting and doing what I did. So it would be dumb for me not to use that to help attract women. Right, that's where I was going with that. So like I don't want to get those type of girls, but like it's all type of girls. Like the Christian single mom will still reach out to you, even if you're a blue check mark fighter, whatever. That doesn't matter. Like if you have attention and other women desire you, that's going to get their attention. Your skills is what determines whether or not she's a good fit or a bad fit.
What is it? Because I haven't been on anything. I got off all that stuff pre-March 2020. What is it? What is the landscape like? Is that an immediate conversation off the gate? Poked versus unpoked, that sort of stuff, or is that? Do you see that on those things?
You mean on the dating apps?
Yeah.
No, it's generally you match with somebody, you got to give them some type of open-ended opener, get them to respond. And a lot of times just off the opener, you can tell whether or not they're kind of into you or not. If it's a one word answer, like
Next.
well, maybe not, maybe it was a boring question, but she's into you, so she replied. So you have to feel it out. You have to hit her with something else after the one word answer. If she gives you 3 or 4 one word answers, like, yeah, she's not really into you. She doesn't have any interest in meeting you up or dating you. A lot of girls are only in it for the attention. Right? There are girls who will match you on the dating apps who have boyfriends or are married. But because they get the dopamine hits from somebody liking them and somebody opening them, that makes them feel good.
You see that a lot?
It's a real thing. Like, girls sometimes just want attention. Right? Currency, right? It's currency. Attention is currency in the dating market. If you're a guy, your attention is your greatest asset. It's your greatest asset. If a girl is misbehaving and you don't like her attitude, withdraw your attention. You have to withdraw it. And if she's into you, she'll circle around and try to get your attention again.
That's the shit they should be teaching in sex ed class.
Well, now they're teaching there is no genders.
That's a whole nother episode.
It's a whole other episode.
Jon, I want to be super respectful of your time. We have some rapid fire questions, but I have a question, kind of random, but like I said before, been a huge Jon Fitch fan. I followed your career, and I remember it was like around 2012, 2013. I feel like you were a coach at some gym in like Syracuse, I believe it was, opened up.
Right after I got released from the UFC, I went out there, did about 6 months.
What was the story with that? Because it seemed like maybe there was like an eccentric millionaire, someone who had some money that wanted to throw it into a program. Whatever happened with that?
Yeah, so Bob, nice enough guy, but like he'd done rent to own type businesses, furniture, cars, stuff, for a number of years. It was worth like $500 million, is what the rumor was. And he brought me out because he wanted to start a fight team. And, we contracted out what I was going to be doing, what my responsibilities were going to be doing. And it sounded great. Like we were going to recruit. It was in upstate New York. So we could go into Pennsylvania and recruit college wrestlers and like all kinds of stuff like that. It sounded great. But kind of when I got there, he kind of changed his mind and seemed like he wanted me to run jiu-jitsu practice and wasn't so concerned about creating a fight team anymore. But I was like, that's not really what I went out there to do. And we ended up terminating a contract early, and I came back, didn't do the full year. But it was a fun experience. I mean, yeah, it could have been, big potential. There was a bunch of money there. He bought like an old Chevy dealership. So it was a huge building. Absolutely huge building. There's like 3 different pools there, 3 different saltwater pools in the building. There's a full like indoor football field size training area for like strength conditioning and indoor track. There was we had a huge like wrestling matted area. It was ginormous. You could have had 4 full-size classes in that spot. And then there was a side room that was the MMA room. They had a full cage in it. He had a full weight room, full section of like cardio and fitness equipment. It was a very impressive facility, but yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. I was with my ex at the time, and she was pregnant and not liking the snow. She hated the snow.
I was gonna say Syracuse is a long way away from San Jose in terms of weather.
Yeah, oh, it is. And we got there around Thanksgiving and left around like spring.
So it's all snow.
So like we had 3 feet of snow the whole time, except like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
So I got one for you before we go into rapid fire too. I know I've heard you say this before on Rockfin that, with the current situation and climate the way it is, a lot of why you're still in California is because of your sons and that connection and stuff. If that weren't the case and you had the ability to go anywhere with the current situations, where would you go?
I have a sister in Tampa.
Okay.
And I feel like, because it doesn't snow in Tampa. My other family's in Fort Worth, Indiana. And like I could see myself going back just to be around family for a while.
Yeah.
Like I could probably sell my townhouse here in Cali and buy a big property with a pole barn, and I could turn that into a gym, and I would own the building that my classes and stuff ran out of. Like that would be something I could do. But I don't think the kid's mother would ever go for that. But maybe a Tampa or something similar. I don't know if Texas, but there's a lot with Texas I don't know about. There's a lot of I follow Tim Kennedy. He's always posting stuff about crime on the rise in Texas. And then there's a lot of Californians moved from California into Texas. So like Texas could end up flipping red or flipping blue at some point. I don't know. I like South Carolina.
Okay, I've heard that too. That's on my list.
Yeah, I like South Carolina, and I got some friends from high school that are in South Carolina. But mostly because the weather is temperate. I could live in a place that's close enough, an hour to the beach, could still do something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the future's so uncertain right now, man.
Yeah.
It's like what to do. I'm almost like sell the house, put everything in crypto and lay low and just rent a cheap studio. Have me and the kids with our beds and our bunk beds like in one corner.
Yeah.
It's like get ready for the fallout. I don't know what's gonna happen. This summer, by the time we get to this summer, I think that's the breaking point of people being over it or the lockdown intensifying.
Full-blown Australia.
Yeah, exactly. Like either we've got to go one direction or the other. We can't just keep hovering here. It doesn't seem sustainable to stay like this. It's like enough people are going to wake up and be like, this is silly. Like this isn't the reaction to the sickness isn't worth what's going on. Yeah, or they're all going to freak out and blame the unvaccinated and they're going to come hunting us.
What do you do?
Burmis is convinced that the robot dogs and the T2s and the T1s are coming.
I have to take him in small doses because he scares the shit out of me sometimes.
Yeah, he finds like real stuff. So it is scary. But I just feel like there's a level of incompetence that these people have that makes me feel like they can't accomplish it.
Yeah,
I hope, because once I see those robot dogs in the street, that's where I think I'm
going
gonna
shit myself.
myself.
I almost shit my pants when I went to it's up on my Rockfin, but I did a walk and talk interview with my buddy Mo, and we were just walking through campus, and there was a robot coming going down the whatever courtyard thing. I was like, what the hell? He's like, oh yeah, you can order food from the food court there down in that main area and have it come to your place, come to your room or whatever. That's crazy.
What campus was that on?
Purdue University.
Damn.
And I was like, just wait until that thing's like asking you for your papers and taking your temperature. Let me take your temperature. No.
So John, we got a couple 4 rapid fire questions for you that we ask all our guests. First one is, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
How do you take your coffee and how do you brew it?
Black.
Just the Mr. Coffee pour over.
Actually, I do have a Mr. Coffee because I drink a lot. I think that pour over tastes better. If I'm going to go out and spend $5-6 on a coffee, I'll get the pour over coffee. But when you're drinking, 10 cups a day, I do the Mr. Coffee.
You have a specific bean?
Usually Pete's. coffee, organic, and they either the French roast or they have another one. They have
You like the
two.
dark
It's usually
roast?
the ones at Costco. There's one or the other.
Okay.
I like them both though, so it's good.
10 cups is a lot of cups of coffee, John.
I'm a heavyweight now.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. You are like 2.5 of me. John, do you have any daily practices or daily rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of yourself?
Oh man. Like lifting is kind of one of them. Unless I'm really sick or injury or something's happened, like you can bet I'm probably lifting in some way on that day. I've been pretty consistent with that for a number of years. Like when I was thinking it was 2012 when I started like implementing my lifting system because I'd gotten hurt, I'd been injured, and like I'd lost too much size. And ever since I started kind of religiously lifting, like even like if I have a bad day and I just go in and I do one lift, like I did whatever 2 sets of squats with moderate weight, like it's way better than missing the day, and I have my weights in my garage now. Before when I stayed in an apartment for a year when I first separated, I had my weights in my kitchen, right? So I used to call it, I would do legs and eggs. I cook my breakfast in the morning and I would do my set of squats, come back, finish my eggs, do another set.
That's awesome.
That was probably the best setup, man. It was like impossible to miss a workout.
Sounds
Before
like our
then I had a
setup.
house and I had my weights in that house too. So like I've been, sticking with that pretty religiously. I need to, because I'm still in that transition point from fighting to moving on to the next stuff. There's still pieces of me that want to compete, right? That's why I keep wanting to sneak to the gym and do that and like make money doing that. But like I'm trying to set up new routines that are successful. It's weird to have to like kind of redo this stuff at 40, but I mean, that's just what has to happen because it's completely different way of living, like getting up, doing a workout, eating, doing another workout versus getting up and like typing and writing and making phone calls. And like, I'll work all morning, some mornings, and then feel like I didn't do anything because I haven't worked out. So I'm still adjusting to that and developing, strong routines now.
Yeah.
I think, making my bed is probably one routine that I picked up in the last, 4 years or so that I stick with. And it's such a small thing, but like when I walk into my bed at night and it's time to go to sleep and my bed's made, it feels really good. Because I've had those mornings where time got away from me, had to get the kids to school, and like I didn't get to the bed, and like I walk back into the room in the afternoon, I'm like, doesn't feel good, feels out of place, room feels dirty.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I get it now. So that's a little one that helps, I think.
Right on. Other than squatting on a fairly regular, if not daily basis, do you have any other favorite movements that you recommend?
Well, like the compound movements are the most important, So I do decline or incline bench or dips, weighted dips, because I think flat bench is too rough on your shoulders. Unless you're a power lifter or a bodybuilder, I don't think there's as much need to do a flat bench. So I have a little bit of a decline on my bench. I'll use that. Or I'll incline it up. And I have like 3 different locations on the incline I can change. So I can hit different angles. I think that's good too. But man, bench, squat, pull-ups, and stiff leg deadlifts. Those are probably like the go-tos.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice I ever heard. I wish I would have heard it when I was actually competing as a wrestler, but I heard a wrestling coach tell one of his athletes, there's never a line at the pull-up bar.
It's good. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got pull-up bar and then I've got the rings too. And so those change things up a little bit.
Nice.
And those things are awesome because you can adjust the height. They're awesome for like stretching your shoulders and chest out. That's helped with shoulder mobility a lot too.
Yeah. John, just adding on to one thing you just said about going from, being competitive to kind of being that normal kind of lifestyle. Do you feel like you can tap into that same energy that you used to be one of the best MMA fighters to be successful at life? Like, do you feel like you can tap into that, or is it a complete different thing for you?
I'm struggling to find it. I think I can find it, but it's different. It's a little bit different because I think part of me has to put the competitive, like, I'm gonna fight everybody and be the best in the world. Like, it's hard to switch that into like I'm gonna be the best teacher and I'm gonna do the most seminars, and like I'm getting there, but I think part of me has to let go of the competition, that type of physical competition, and switch it up. Yeah.
Yeah, just curious, because same with me, trying to take from wrestling and jiu-jitsu and put it into my everyday life. I feel like there's some days I can tap into it, but other days it's easier just to go work out and do stuff like that. So just curious.
It's that motivation. And that's the thing, man, is like motivation isn't always there. Some things you get way more motivated for than other things. So you got to have the scheduling, the discipline. That's the stuff that makes up for the lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah,
right on. What are you listening to right now? Music-wise, podcast-wise, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Man, I need to get back into reading. I've been busy trying to get my shit in order, honestly. But on the background, if I'm doing writing work, I have like a violin like playlist of music because I think it's good to put like filler music in the background that doesn't really take your attention, but it just fills the space. I think that actually kind of helps me concentrate. And I also have like those like retro like type, it's like 80s music on super crack. Like I put one of those things on too, and that gets the energy level up a little bit more. Yeah, I feel like I really want to crank out a lot of work. I put some of that on. That's good. But I have a dad's rules playlist because my kids use my Spotify all the time, and they have like fart and whatever playlist they make up. Atlas is stupid. It's a playlist. But I have a lot of variety on that one too, from Motown to grunge rock and stuff like that, all over the place.
What do you go to when you're lifting?
That mixes up.
Yeah.
It makes because I like all kinds of music. I just like good music.
Yeah.
So I'll switch here and there. It's such a small brain thing for me when I meet somebody who's like, oh, I only listen to this type of music. It's usually younger people, but like I'm only going to listen to like, they've got like, 10 artists in one genre, and that's all they've ever listened to or heard of. And everything else is garbage to them. I think that's just like, you have a very small pea brain. Because some of these people, like, they're listening to like sample and were inspired by other people and other forms of music and other things. And like they won't even listen to like the original thing that was sampled or inspired the artist that they love. It's just silly.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes they don't even realize that it is a sample.
Yes. Yep.
John, last but certainly not least, do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
Favorite conspiracy theory? Like that I think it's true, or just one that just amuses me the most?
And/or.
I think the like the lizard people is pretty funny. That there's lizard people, that there's aliens in disguise. I think that's funny. I like reading about some of those things because they make me laugh. But yeah, man, I think my favorite conspiracy theory is the fact that the Fertittas deliberately helped defund the original UFC in order to buy it cheap, and then they paid off and had friendships with the right politicians to make sure that they could skate through and not be fined or held accountable. That's my conspiracy theory.
I like that one, and you need to keep spreading it. I know we'll bring it up to our guests, but I think that's one that needs to get out there.
Yeah, follow the connections. You have the Fertittas, right? Their father made Stations Concedo, right? Fertitta Sr., long time ago. He's really good friends with Harry Reid, who's a U.S. senator from Nevada. Harry Reid is buddies with John
McCain.
John McCain. Yep, they're buddy, and they voted and worked on a lot of stuff together. Just follow the trails and see where you find connections.
Gonna be in a rabbit hole tonight. Thanks, Jon.
But it's so funny because it's like the U.S. it's like the government journalist and whatever, nobody asks the questions, nobody will bring it up, it's all propaganda. Nobody's going to ask them that questions. Everybody's just going to tout their greatness. You saved the sport.
Yeah,
they stole it.
Winners tell history, unfortunately.
Well, the last decade, the losers have been telling a lot of history too.
Yeah. Thanks, Jon. We really appreciate your time. It's an honor and a pleasure to spend an hour having a great conversation with you. So thanks for your time, and keep doing what you're doing. Love following your stuff on Rockfin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for reaching out. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Where do you want us to send everyone?
JonFitch.net.
Sweet. Thanks, Jon.
JON. Yep.
Thank you so much for your time and all you've done, and keep on doing you, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Take care.
Too.